I've been doing Microsoft Office training and really just software training for the past several years. About 20 plus years of experience in the classroom, online, and video training just like this right here. And I'm going to share a bit of advice for you that I've picked up over the years. Participate. Get into the course, follow along, download the exercise files, and ask questions. You see this little guy right here over my shoulder? Which way am I going? Right there. Right there. Right there? Yeah, right there. All right. You see that? Right? You don't have to raise your hand to ask a question, but jump into the course and use the Q&A section of the course. Look for the Q&A below the video. Go into the Q&A board, ask your questions there, right? I do my utmost best to get in there and answer questions personally. I've also got a couple of assistants that get in there and help me with answering questions as well. So participate in the course, download the files, follow along with me, and ask your questions, right? The quicker that you can start to implement and start to use the features that you're learning, the quicker you're going to learn it, the faster you're going to become more efficient within Microsoft Excel and get ready for that new raise that's coming your way. So participate in the course. Don't just sit back and open up your head and hope to absorb, but get in there and follow along with me. That's where the fun's going to come in. That's where you're going to start to learn and master the tool. So I'm excited for this. Hopefully you are too. Let's get into the course and start to master Microsoft Excel. As you go through this course in the various sections here, 101, 102, 103, and Excel macros and VBA, I've provided some exercise files that you can download and you can use to follow along with me. Now, in this 101 section, the foundation, the basics of Microsoft Excel, I've supplied some exercise files. You can find them attached to this lecture that you're watching right now. Go into the lecture panel, just somewhere right above my head. You're going to find it just to the right of the video player. But attached to the lecture, you'll see a resources button where you can download any files that are associated with this section of the course. Now for the 101 section, I've supplied some exercise files, and you can download them and you can use them. But what I would recommend is follow along with me and build the exercise files yourself through this section of the course, the 101 section. In the 102 and the 103, download those files. I'm not going to expect you to build a bunch of lists and whatnot. So use those files as you get deeper in the course. But for right now, I would recommend you could leave those alone unless you really want them. I'm offering them for you. Or you can just build them yourself. And that's what I'd recommend. So, but they're right there. They're available for you. Make sure you download any files that you feel like you need. And let's get into the course and start to master Microsoft Excel. As you go through the course, you're going to be marking lectures as completed. Actually, the system will mark the lectures as completed for you. You can see just behind my head there, we've got the lecture panel, where you're going to find all of the lectures that you'll be participating in as you go through this course. As a lecture is watched, it will be automatically checked as completed. In the top right corner of the Udemy page, the course page, you'll find your progress. From there, you can keep track of how many lectures you've gone through and how many lectures you have to go to complete the course. Now, once you've completed the course 100%, you will then be presented with an email from Udemy that gives you a link to your certificate of completion. Now, you can also find this by going to the review option right below the video screen. Go to overview. And if I scroll down, you'll see a portion in there for certificates. And you can find your certificate of completion from there. Again, once you complete the course 100%. So I'm excited. Let's get in there. Housekeeping done. Let's start jumping in and mastering Microsoft Excel. Now, before we can start to work inside of Microsoft Excel, we got to open up the application. So our first step right here is to find Excel on our computer and open it up. Now I'm working on a Windows machine. If you're on a Mac, the process that you're about to go through here is going to be slightly different, but the idea is the same. We just got to identify where Excel's out on the computer and open it up. Now on a Windows machine, I'm just going to take my cursor here and move down to my taskbar, bottom of my screen.
And there I've got the Windows icon or the Windows Start menu. So I'll give that a click. This is going to launch out the Start menu. And from here, I can search for Excel. Now, if you look closely on my computer, I can see Excel right there. I've already pinned it. It's already available to me. I can launch it from right here. Now, if you're looking at your Start menu and you don't see Excel, try this. Once you have the Start menu open, just type out Excel, EXCEL, and the Start menu will start to search for whatever you're typing out. Here, it found Excel. So all I need to do at this point is give it a click. I'll try it. I'll just give that a left click, give it a moment, and I've now launched Excel. So that's our first step. Try this out. Get Excel open on your computer. Now that we have Microsoft Excel open on our computer, we're introduced to the Excel startup screen or the welcome page of Microsoft Excel. Now, before we get in there and start to do some work, let's break down what we're looking at initially as Excel is first open on your computer. So I'm going to draw on my screen here a little bit. We've got a couple of different sections that make up this start page. So first, left-hand side, we've got three little categories of options that we can get access to. We got home, which is where we're currently at. We've got new and open. We'll talk about each of these here. Lower left-hand corner, we got options for our account, where you can get access to things like signing into your Microsoft 365 account, updating your copy of Microsoft Excel, and several other options. Down below that, we've got an option called Options. And we're going to talk about that one a little bit later on in the course. But through the Options option, you can start to customize your experience as you work with your copy of Microsoft Excel. Like I said, we'll talk some more about that feature later on. Now, the rest of the screen is all based on which of the three options you have selected at the top. Like I said, currently we're looking at home. Here, I can get into new options. Now, I do want to point out, as you open up your copy of Microsoft Excel, you may see just blank workbook. You may not have any of these other options, or you may have different options up there. These options to the right of blank workbook, like retirement financial planner, loan schedule, and so on, these are all templates that you can get access to. Now, there is an option for more templates, but in order to get access to templates, you need internet connection on your computer that you're working with Excel. Okay? But templates, again, we'll talk about those later on inside this course, but they allow you to create a basic structure of a document and something that you can reuse. Okay? We'll talk more about templates later. So currently on home, I got new, and I've got options for recent documents that I've worked on. This is great because if I have something I worked on yesterday and the next day rolls around and I want to open up that same document, I don't have to go dig around on my computer to find it. I can just go to my recent list and find it right there. Now, I've also got a new category. If I give that a click, you're going to see a lot of the same options like blank workbook and templates you can get access to. You got office templates, and there's a whole slew of them. But remember, in order to get access to the office templates, you need internet connection on the computer you're working on. Just an FYI. And then we've got open. If I give open a click, this is just going to take you to options to open up documents on your computer or out on your network drive, maybe a SharePoint site, and your recent list of recently used or opened documents on your copy of Microsoft Excel on your computer. So this is your welcome screen, just introductory. Hey, you got Excel open. Now what do you want to do? So for us right now, we landed on the home category first. From here, let's just grab blank workbook. We're going to start from scratch. So I'll give that a click, give it a moment, and it'll launch Excel with a blank workbook. So try that out. You can experiment. You can look around inside of the startup page, try each of them. Home, new, what was the other one? Open. Click on each of them and just get familiar with the interface and the layout. And then once you're done, you feel comfortable, Go back to home or new and click on blank workbook. We're going to start out right here. So you've got Excel open. You've opened up a blank workbook. Now let's take a look at the interface itself. What makes up what you're looking at and all the tools that Excel consists of. Let's break it down. So first off, top of your screen, you've actually got several things going on in here, but this is commonly referred to as the Office ribbon, or in this case, the Excel ribbon. Each of the Office applications, whether it's Excel or Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, Microsoft Access, they all have this ribbon. And the ribbon contains all the various tools that you're going to work with inside of the active application. Now, the ribbon itself is made up of tabs. Let's take a look. So inside of my interface here, we are currently looking at the Home tab. And on the Home tab, within that ribbon, we've got all the tools related to things like formatting the font, the paragraph, the alignment, number formatting, styles, but this is all found on the Home tab. Right next door to the Home tab, we've got Insert. I've got Draw. You take a moment, look through that list there. You might have Draw, you may not. The Draw tab is based on whether or not you have an interface that can accept things like a touch screen. If you're working on a mobile device, or you got a touch screen or a touch pad sitting next to you, then you'll have options to draw. So if you don't see draw on your screen, that's okay. It is an additional option that can benefit you, but is not necessary to your work inside of Excel. Then I've got things like page layout, formulas, data, review, and so on. Again, take a moment, try clicking on each of those tabs there, and just take a look at what features are available to you, what commands or tools are available to you on that tab. Right? Currently looking at Home, but if I go to Insert, I'm going to find things like insert a pivot table, insert a chart, insert an image, a graphic. Let's see, insert a slicer for formatting, for filtering. You got all sorts of features here, and there's loads of tabs that make up that ribbon interface. So that's just one part of that large section, kind of the upper quarter, depending on your screen resolution, that makes up your Excel interface. Now, right above that, we have what's called your Quick Access Toolbar. Now, currently on my Quick Access Toolbar, I've got things like autosave. I've got my save button, an undo, a redo, and this little down arrow here. And I've got the name of the currently open active workbook. In this case, just called Book 1. We'll talk some more about the workbook name here later on. But this is called your Quick Access Toolbar. It just gives you quick, easy access to common commands, things like save. Now, right below the ribbon, we've got what's called the formula bar. There's actually two pieces of information here. We have the formula bar, which is really this portion right here. And then we've got your name box. And we're going to do a deep dive into both of these features as we get more in depth into Excel, especially once we get into creating formulas inside of our worksheets and referencing cells through names. That's where the name box comes into play later on inside the course. Okay? But that's your top portion of the screen. You've got the Quick Access Toolbar, you've got the ribbon, and then you've got the formula bar. So take a moment, dig around inside of that ribbon, try the different tabs, see what's available to you. You are going to see some tabs on my screen that you may not see on your screen. Things like Developer or Draw or Pivot Table or Acrobat or Power Pivot. You may see some stuff that I don't have on my screen, but just take a moment, see what you got there, get familiar with the interface. So here's a quick tip for you dealing with the Office ribbon. In our case, the Excel ribbon. So remember, the ribbon contains all these tabs. And each tab contains various tools that you can use inside your Excel document, right? All based on the category tab that you selected. Now, that ribbon, that set of tabs, and all those commands, they take up quite a bit of space on your screen. There might be times where you want to collapse it or hide it temporarily and then get it back later on. Hey, I do this all the time inside of Microsoft Outlook. As I'm working with my email, my calendar, my tasks, and so on, I like to collapse the ribbon, hide it. I don't need it. I want more real estate on my screen to read items such as my email. So here's a quick tip for you. If I go to my ribbon, let's say I go to my home tab. If you double click any of the tab names, such as home, I'll give it a double click here. This will collapse or temporarily hide the ribbon. You can see that my Excel, the rest of my screen there just got much larger, a little bit more real estate given to me to work inside of my document. Now, to get it back, you can do one of two things. One, I can just click on a tab, insert, draw, page layout, and this will give me my tools. But as soon as I click away from it, it'll hide the ribbon tab once again. Now, if I want to get it back altogether, I can just double click a tab name again, such as home, and this will bring back the commands and all the ribbon commands. So try this out. Quick little tip. Just give it a double click, hide it, give it a double click again. It'll bring it back. Try it out. I love tips, right? Little shortcuts that we can use inside of Excel to make us that much more efficient. I'm going to give you another tip here. This deals with the quick access toolbar that we identified earlier. Take a look. So remember the quick access toolbar is this area right here. It gives you quick, easy access to common commands that you work with inside the application. So here you can see I got things like autosave, save, undo, redo, and this little down arrow. The little down arrow, this right here, is really what I want to give you the tip about. Take a look. If I click on the little down arrow, this is going to give me a list of other common commands that I can place on the quick access toolbar, giving you quick, easy access to that tool. So for example, there's one in there called open. If I give that a click, this will place the open command on the quick access toolbar, again, giving you quick, easy access to that command. Normally, I would have to go to File, Open, and then go find the document that I want to open. But now I just have the open button right there. What normally was 3 clicks is now 1 click, right? If I go back to the little down arrow, I can take it off. See how it's got a little check mark next to it? If I click on it again, it'll remove that command. Let's go back in. We got things like email, quick print, print preview, spelling, sorting. Got all sorts of common commands that you can give yourself right at your fingertips on the quick access toolbar. Now you've also got the option to show below the ribbon. Currently, my quick access toolbar is at the top of the screen above the ribbon, all those tabs. If I select below the ribbon, this places it down below. There it is, below the ribbon. And here it gives me a lot more real estate, a lot more space in there for me to add my favorite commands. So try this out. And it's really personal preference. I'm going to put it back at the top. I'll say show above the ribbon. I like it up there. It's a common place. It's my first place that my eyes go to, top left corner. But it's really, again, it's a personal preference. And feel free to customize it. Place your favorite commands there. Try this out. So we've spent a bit of time talking about that top portion of the Microsoft Excel window. Let's get into the rest of the window, the bulk of the window here. So right below the ribbon and your formula bar, you have your Excel document. That's this right here. This represents the current blank workbook that we opened up earlier. Now, an Excel workbook, it's something we're going to get much more in depth in, but it's essentially your Excel file. You work inside of Excel, you work inside of an Excel workbook. Now, within that workbook, you have what are called worksheets. And currently, we have a single worksheet in here called Sheet 1. We'll talk some more about workbooks and worksheets as we continue within the lectures within this course. But for right now, that's what that is. That represents your Excel file. Now, right below the Excel workbook or your worksheet, we have what's called your status bar. And there's actually several different tools that you can work with on the status bar. But before we do, let's get rid of my head. Let's pop that off the screen here. All right, there we go. That way we can see everything. In the lower left-hand corner, the status bar's got several features here. It can show us that we're currently ready, meaning that we can start doing something inside of Excel. It's not busy. It's not doing something else, processing information or anything like that. It's ready for us to work. Currently, I have number lock turned on. I've got an option for recording macros. We'll talk about that much later in the course. And we got some accessibility options there as well. In the lower right-hand corner, we got two sections here. We got some views, three little buttons that'll change the way we view the Excel worksheet or workbook. And we've got some zoom commands, so we can zoom in and out of the Excel worksheet. So you've got the bulk of the screen represents your workbook or the worksheet. And then the lower portion is your status bar, and it's got all sorts of goodies down there. So that right there is essentially the Excel interface. You've got the ribbon at the top, which contains your quick access toolbar, the tabs along the ribbon, the formula bar, and the name box. You've got the Excel file, the workbook and worksheets, and you've got the status bar. All right, so take a moment, just poke around, right? Get comfortable and familiar with, especially if you're relatively new inside of the world of Microsoft Excel. Poke around and just get a feel, get comfortable with navigating throughout the Excel interface. Try it out. All right, the next thing that we're going to get into here is the basic structure of an Excel file, or what we're going to call an Excel workbook. So we've talked about the interface itself. We got the ribbon, you've got the document, you've got the status bar down at the bottom of the screen. Let's talk about the document section. You might remember when we first opened up Excel, I'm going to go to my file tab here at the top of the screen. It took you to this screen right here. This is the startup screen, right? I'm currently looking at home. And when we first opened it up, we opened up a blank workbook, right? Keyword here, workbook. That's your Excel document. You create an Excel document, you're creating what's called a workbook. So we did that. We created a blank workbook. I'm going to hit this little arrow here to take me back. Now, this portion of the screen, that's my workbook. That's my Excel file. Now, within the workbook, we've got a single worksheet, and it's called Sheet 1 currently. We got a workbook, and in there you got a single worksheet. An Excel worksheet is where you're going to put your data. I'm going to give you a scenario here. I'm going to give you an example. We might have weekly data that we keep track of, right? Whatever that is. Maybe it's an attendance worksheet for every week. It's an inventory worksheet for every week. It's sales or orders and customers, right? Whatever it is, we got something that we keep track of weekly. So I might have a worksheet in here that represents week 1 data, and I'll keep track of it all right here. The next week rolls around. I need a new place to put week 2 data. Well, I can keep it inside the same Excel file, the same Excel workbook. And now I'll hit the little plus sign here. And this is going to insert a new worksheet where I can put that data right here. Week 1, that was back on sheet 1. Week 2 rolls around, I'll put that on sheet 2. Week 3 rolls around, hit the plus sign, and now I've got sheet 3 where I can put week 3 data, and I can continue this process. Let's see, there's 52 weeks in a year, so I can have a single Excel document, a single Excel workbook that contains 52 worksheets, and each one is represented by weekly data. And I could put that inside of all different worksheets. A little FYI for you, you can actually have hundreds of worksheets inside of a single Excel workbook. Now, you do want to be careful how many you place, because the more data you put inside of a single Excel workbook, the slower it's going to get. Okay, so it's great. Excel's super quick and super efficient, but it can lag with loads of data. Okay? Just to show off a little bit, a single Excel worksheet, just one tab down there inside of your Excel workbook. We start in column A. We start inside of row 1. Well, take a look at this. On your keyboard, hold down the Control key and press the down arrow. Control down arrow. Here, you'll see it takes you all the way down to the last row in that worksheet. We started in row 1. We're now all the way down to 1,048,576. Remember, we're starting row 1. We've got over 1 million rows inside of this Excel workbook or worksheet. That's just one sheet. If I go to sheet 2, it's the exact same thing. You got over 1 million rows. Get back to sheet 1. If you press Control right arrow, this will take you to the last column inside of the workbook. Remember, we started inside of column A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, all the way to Z. Got to Z, and I was like, okay, what do I do next? Well, it actually went from Z to AA, AB, AC, AD, AE, AF, AG, right? And continued. Got all the way to AZ. And it's like, well, what do I do now? Then it went to BA, BC, BD, and continued. We've got over 17,000 columns inside of this Excel worksheet. One worksheet. Remember, I now have 3 worksheets in here, or 4 or 5 or 52 of them. Lots of data, lots of space. Okay? You're not going to run out of space inside of Excel. You got loads of space to work with. Now, to get all the way back to A1, on my keyboard, I'm going to press the Control key again. And then towards the right on your keyboard, you're going to have a Home button. Control Home. This will always take you back to cell A1 or back to column A, row 1 of your active Excel worksheet. So this is basic structure of the Excel file. You've got the workbook, which is really the Excel file that you're working in. Within that workbook, you've got worksheets. Whether you got a single sheet or 3 sheets or 52 sheets or a couple hundred worksheets in there, you've got loads of space to store your data. So take a moment, poke around, just get familiar with the worksheets, navigating between them. Just click on them, hit the plus sign to add one, take a tour through the columns and rows, right? Just get familiar with the basic structure of your Excel workbook and the worksheets within that workbook. Now, at some point, as you're working inside of Microsoft Excel, there's going to come a time where you want to save your progress, save the work that you've been doing, right? Whether that's a few minutes or that's several hours of work that you've put into Excel, hours inside of Excel. Yeah, you want to save your work, right? There's a few different ways to do this. You might remember one of the first things we talked about was the quick access toolbar. We have a save button right there. So I'm busy working on my document. I want to quickly save my work. You can hit the little disk icon, the little save icon right there. You can also go to File, and you got Save and Save As. Now, I want to point out, we have Save and Save As, but currently this file that we actively have open is a brand new workbook. You'll remember when we first opened up Excel, we went to New Blank Workbook. It's brand new. It just came into existence. It's ready to go, but it's never been saved, meaning it hasn't been given a name. and it hasn't been given a location on your computer where it's saved to. So right now, save and save as are going to do the exact same thing because it's a blank, brand new Excel document. Watch this. If I click on save, watch this left-hand side right here. If I click on save, it actually went to save as, because save as says, hey, you're saving this document. It's brand new. What do you want to save it as? You got to give it a name. You got to give it a location on your computer or your network drive or wherever. But you got to give me some more information here. I'm not just saving. You got to tell me what I'm saving. So my first step is I got to give the document a name. You got enter file name right here. So you give it a name. Okay, names, they should relate to the data that's in there, right? If you're creating your budget for personal reasons or for work, right? I'm going to name it appropriately. Here, let's just say this is my first Excel workbook, -01. Okay? That's the name of my file, my Excel workbook. Right below that, we have your file type. What are you saving this as? Default, we're saving it as an Excel workbook or a .xlsx. Here's a little bit of information for you. When the 2006 edition of the Office Suite came out, so Excel 2006, Microsoft changed the extension for Excel workbooks from .xls to the new one, .xlsx. That happened in the 2006 edition and is still true today. Earlier, it was .xls, just didn't have that X on the end of it. Okay, so if you ever come across files that have .xls and you think, what is this? Excel has an X on the end of it. Well, that's an earlier, much earlier edition of an Excel workbook. You'll see here, this is your file type. If I go down to the little drop-down arrow, you've got several different types of file types that you can save this document as. Default again, Excel workbook.xlsx. We'll talk about some of the other ones as we continue through the course, but as you can see, there's a bunch of them in here. So I'm going to stick with the default Excel workbook. I'm all good to go. So now I can create a new folder and store it in there. I can hit the save button, or I can go down here to more options. And it's going to ask me where I want to save it on my computer. So your save as browse window. And now I can go save it to wherever I need to on my computer, on my C drive, on my desktop, inside of a specific folder, wherever that might be. Once you've navigated to the location, you'll then hit the save button and off you go. So for me right now, I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to take this off the screen for a moment. Let's see. I'm going to save it into my exercise files folder. Let's see, videos. I'm just navigating to my folder here. You can find your folder once you've got it there. I've got my file name there already. I'll go ahead and hit save. And I've now saved my document. And if you look at the top of the screen, you'll now see your file has a name. So now I've already saved it. I've brought it into existence, brand new Excel file, given it a name, given it a location. Now I continue working in it. I can just hit the save button here. I can go back to file. Oh, I got to save a copy. Save a copy is there because I have autosave turned on. If I turn off autosave, no longer on, I still got my save button there. I can still save right here. But if I go back to file, I've now got save and save as. Save will just save the current document. Whatever you've named it, wherever you've saved it, you're going to save it. Save as gives you all those options again. You can change its location, you can change its file name, and so on. But this is how you save an Excel file. Try it out. Hit the little save button, go to file, save, give it a name, give it a location, maybe put it inside your exercise file folder you downloaded earlier. Put it somewhere you can keep track of because we're going to keep working with this file. Try it out. Now that we've saved our document, we've given it a name and a location on your computer. You saved it. Great. It's always on your computer. You're always going to have access to it on your computer. Now, what if you want to open up an existing file? Right? You've created a file, closed it at the end of the day. Tomorrow rolls around, you want to reopen that same file. Take a look. If we go to our File tab, try this out. Go to your File tab. Let's just quickly close this file. I'm going to go ahead and hit close here. Gone. Still got Excel open, but the file is gone. So now I want to reopen that file. I'll just go back to my File tab. I'm going to go to Open. And inside my Open section, I do have a recent list inside of there. You can see mine currently says today as a category, and I can see my first Excel workbook is there. So I can just click on it and call it good. It'll open it up for me. It knows where it's at. It's just one of the recent documents that I've been working on. Well, if it doesn't show up inside your recent list, over on the left, you've got several locations that you can navigate to. I've got some SharePoint sites. I've got a OneDrive site. I've also got this Browse button. If I click on Browse, this is going to allow me to browse my system folders, my computer's folders. So I can navigate to wherever that file is stored at. Once I find it, I can select it. I'll hit Open, and it's just reopened that Excel file. Really simple. File, Open, check your recent list. If it's something recently you've worked on, it's going to be there. If not, you can go browse for it and locate that file inside of whatever folder you stored it in, select it, and open it. Try it out. Get that file back open. We're going to work in it. I'll hit the back arrow, get back to my document. Try that out. Get the file open. So one of my goals of this course regarding you is to help you become more efficient as you work inside of Microsoft Excel, or really any of the Office applications. And one way for me to do that is to introduce you to Excel shortcut keys. Keys that we can use on our keyboard to make us more efficient, right? Rather than poking around through the menus, we can press a quick shortcut key on our keyboard that'll run a command for us. For example, we just got done talking about saving a document. Well, to save a document, normally I would use my mouse and I would go up to the quick access toolbar and I'd hit the save button, or I would go to File, Save, or Save As, and so on. Well, there's a shortcut key for this. On my keyboard, if I press Control S, the Control key and the letter S, this will allow me to activate the save feature within the application. And there's loads of them. Control O for open, Control N like new for a new document, Control P for print, and there's loads of them. So I want to introduce you to a little resource that I'm going to give you here with some common shortcut keys. And I'm going to give you access to this a couple of different ways. Attached to this lecture, this video that you're watching right now, there's going to be a resources button inside the lecture panel. If you click on that resources button, you'll find a couple of documents in there. One, for shortcut keys for Windows users, and two, shortcut keys for Excel Mac users. Okay, they're both there. You can download them, you can reference them, you can log them to memory, memorize those shortcut keys because it's going to help you become more efficient. Now, there's also a blog through officenoob.com. That's what you're looking at right here. Look at that beautiful man. Nice luscious beard. So here on my blog, it's officenoob.com/blog. You're going to find all sorts of little blog posts inside there about Excel and other Office applications, tips and tricks, videos and articles, and so on. Well, I'm giving you a shortcut list as well. To find the shortcut list, make sure you go to the blog, officenoob.com/blog, and then hit the little magnifying glass, the search feature. Inside the search box, I can look for shortcuts. I'll just type in shortcut. I'll hit my enter key, and this is going to search the blog and find everything that involves shortcuts. So there is, if I scroll down, there is Microsoft Excel Common Shortcuts for Mac users and Microsoft Excel Common Shortcuts for Windows users. So again, you can either go to the blog or just hit that resource button attached to this lecture and you'll find the documents right there. But it's just going to be a list of all sorts of shortcut keys that you can use within Excel. So here's the Windows version. I can download the PDF. I'll open this up in front of you. And it's going to look something like this right here. And it's got all sorts of little goodies, all sorts of shortcut keys that you can use to help you become more efficient as you're working inside of Excel. Now, I want to give you the list, but as we continue through the lectures within this course, I will reference shortcut keys so we can use them in a practical scenario. All right, but there's a resource for you. Make sure you download it.